By film, vampires have had it rough the last few years, haven't they? In just a few short years, they've gone from being the embodiment of fire and passion and all of the things that scared Victorian parents to being sparkly emo hunks, and now they're reduced to being in things like Nest of Vampires. Oh. And look, I'll hold my hands up. I've never heard of Nest of Vampires until I stumbled across a Guardian review claiming that it's right up / down there, according to preference, with Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Their own dead will be used to make them accept our existence.
Or The Room.
I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
Now, I've long maintained that this generation's film to ascend/descend to those hallowed ranks was 2019's Cats, but I figured since this film has checked some of my boxes and I have no idea what the release gods are going to get up to this week, I figured that I should give this film a chance. After all, if this film does become a cult hit, the fact that I reviewed it before it became a cult hit will get me all sorts of hipster/cult review points that I get to cash in at a later date. Plus, the main fact that I could dig up on this film, no Wikipedia page on this film, so I actually had to do some googling, the harsh life of an internet film critic, was that the budget was a mere £30,000, which means that I'm also doing my good deed for the month by highlighting a low budget film and will therefore feel less guilty when I join everyone in drooling over the next soulless Hollywood mega blockbuster. Now, from what little I've been able to find on this film, the main selling point of it is that this film was made for £30,000, which would be impressive were it not for Colin, the actually pretty solid little zombie film which was made for £50, most of which allegedly went on biscuits, which had several advantages over Nest of Vampires. It was actually watchable for a start. I mean, Nov has such an amazing premise for a schlocky, blood-drenched revenge film that even James Corden couldn't mess it up. I mean, just listen to this plot outline from IMDb. Nest of Vampires follows an MI5 agent who travels from London to rural England in search of the people who murdered his wife and kidnapped his only daughter. During his investigation, he uncovers a ruthless vampiric cult that is heavily embroiled in human trafficking and satanic cult worship. So this film could be Taken meets Blade with a hint of James Bond on a budget that wouldn't get you a new BMW? That could work. That could really work.
Yummy, yummy, yummy in my tummy, tummy, tummy.
Unfortunately, it requires that the scriptwriter, Chris Sanders, who also directed and let all his mates loose in front of the camera, cast the film, actually having heard a human conversation before. I don't know if this guy was trying to do a Tarantino with his dialogue, but the trouble with that is that if you fail, then you're just left with a lot of awkward airtime. Not that the rest of the dialogue is any good in this film's truly pitiful 79-minute runtime, 83 if you include credits. I mean, within the first 5 minutes, I was confused and lost, and that just didn't let up until this film eventually decided to have something that might be a final showdown if you feel exceedingly generous, and then ended with what I think might be sequel bait, and good luck with that, before the best scene in the film, the scene where all the words go from bottom to top. I mean, leaving aside the unending, terribly written, terribly performed dialogue from characters that just seem to exist and couldn't seem to decide if they were vampires or not, and I'll get back to that, believe you me, you had this film seemingly decide to introduce a new character 10 minutes before the end of the film, just to kill him off screen, for no reason at all other than to tell us that the lead's a badass now. A bit late for that, the last 10 minutes, don't you think? You've had a whole film to show me that, but instead, you've had him spend 20 years tied to a chair threatening to kill our villain instead of actually, doing anything to the villain's goons. I know money was tight, but was there not a local karate, judo, kung fu club that you could have promised a slap-up meal to if they took part in a fight scene or two? Oh, that's another thing. The film forgot to have any fight scenes in it. Well, there's a moment where two characters do have physical interaction, but I've been more aggressive while trying to get to the bar, and the rest of the fight scenes happen off screen. Oh, and despite the really cool sounding plot summary I gave a few paragraphs ago, you could safely remove the vampiric and Satan worshipping and you wouldn't actually lose anything from the plot, as there is actually enough going on without those two aspects, especially since there doesn't seem to be any positive or negative benefit to being a vampire, since literally the first thing we see is that the vampires have a thing that allows them to tolerate daylight. And instead of creating a ticking clock with this widget or having them running out, it's never brought up again. Now, one of the few characters with any development is a hitman with the worst Italian accent since that pizza chef from The Simpsons, but the film builds him up and then just gets rid of him instead of allowing him to be the final boss. What plot there is all over the place, nonsensical. Most of the film was just people sitting in rooms speaking nonsense, and despite the inherently schlocky awesomeness of the premise and what could have been a fairly awesome twist,
and I've seen more blood in the shower when I stubbed my toe in one.
and I just spent the whole film being bored, confused and angry, because even if you completely rewrote the script from word one and either leaned into the premise or just made it a person out to avenge their dead wife / save their daughter from traffickers, and this film could work, you'd also either have to show them as a badass or someone capable of doing deduction, reasoning, interrogating, or frankly doing anything other than being emotionally blackmailed into ordering from his hotel's kitchen. You've also got to develop character, show some actual menace, some understanding of pacing. I could go on, but I'm a critic, not someone who does video essays, and that's where this is heading. So, is Nest of Vampires up / down there with Plan 9 or The Room?
Oh no, oh no, no, no.
It's awful, but not that truly special brand of awful. There's nothing to grab onto to anchor the cult following that builds around truly, truly terrible films. This isn't special, this is just awful. But since this thing is on Amazon Prime, I'm fairly happy to say that it's made its money back. Hopefully not enough money to make a sequel. There's enough bad movies in the world, thanks. So this is a bomb. Do not see this film under any circumstances, but what do you guys think? And what film do you think in the last 10 years has risen or sunk to the ranks of The Room or Plan 9 from Outer Space? Comment below, let me know. I'm Daniel, it's been a donkey. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe.